Hi everyone, welcome back to another video tutorial on Visru Zero Code Studio. And in this video, I want to explain how to define user permissions within Visru. So first, we'll take a look at what we call global roles, and then we'll look at app roles. So suppose you're building an app, and your app requires multiple user roles. So for example, we could have a super admin, which has complete control over the system, and then a regular admin, which would have a subset of permissions from the super admin. And then you may have just a normal user who can only perform actions within the application and does not have wider control of the system. So to start setting up these roles, let's go ahead and click the gear icon, the bottom left, and we'll select Configure Policies. Now in the Configure Policies area, we'll look at the global roles and the app roles. So starting with the global roles, you'll notice that there are already a few roles defined, the tenant admin and admin. So typically the tenant admin is the user who created the instance, and there must be at least one tenant admin in the system, and this admin will have all permissions by default. And since these are global roles, any permission defined in a global role will be allowed across the entire tenant. So now, since we have an admin role here already defined, we can check the permissions against this particular role by selecting the role name. So now we see a list of permissions that the admin role is able to execute. We can see that users assigned to this global role can invite new users into this tenant. They can manage tenant users, manage global roles, etc. So suppose we wanted to add more permissions to this role. We'll go ahead and click the plus button. So suppose we wanted the admin to be able to invite new users to the tenant and view the workflows. So we can select the checkboxes where we want the additional permissions, and then we'll click Save. And now this global admin role has more power and visibility into the instance. If we want to revoke a particular permission, then we select the permission, and we can either toggle it off by using the flag here. We'll see that the status changed to no. Or we can simply delete it from the list by using the trash icon. So going back to the global roles, let's go ahead and add a global role called user. Now the user will have no global permissions, meaning if a user is added to this global role, then they cannot perform any of the actions listed here. Now this is intentional because we don't want normal users to have admin powers. So moving on to app roles. So the roles defined here will only apply to a particular app. So suppose your app has two types of users, the admin and then just a normal user. So let's create the app admin role. And now we can select the permissions that we want the app admin to have. And you can go through this permission list and we can see various permissions regarding modifying the app in any way, managing its members, creating file folders, uploading files, deleting files, things of that nature, and then permissions around the dashboard. So since this role is an app admin, let's go ahead and select all permissions, click Save. So an app role like this is typically reserved for the developers, right? So the developers need to be able to modify the app, manage its members, create dashboards, etc. So now let's create another role called user. Now for the user, let's say that the user is only allowed to view dashboards, and then with the files, they're able to upload, download, delete, and preview files. So we'll go ahead and find those permissions. So here's upload file, download file, delete and preview file. And down here under dashboard, we'll go ahead and select view dashboard from app. Okay, great, we'll click save. And now we have both global and app roles defined in the system. So the last step here is to assign users to their appropriate roles. So if we get into the member section up here, we'll see a list of users and their global role. If we also wanted to see the app roles in the same view, we'll click the text box up here and we'll select our app and we'll click apply. And now you're going to be able to see the app role alongside the global role. Now, in order to assign users a global or an app role, we'll select the appropriate role in the dropdown, just like that. Right, so defining and assigning roles to your users is done in this way. And then just as a side note, it is possible for you to assign a single user multiple global or app roles. So you'll notice my email here. You'll see that I have 2 global roles selected. Now it's usually best practice to assign a user a single global role and a single app role. But if you have a use case that requires multiple global or app roles, then you are free to do so. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.